Hello, hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're listening to me from. My name is Dr. Latte, and I hope you are doing well. In this video, I'll be very short and snappy. I'm going to teach you a strategy to maximize your profits when you are in floating loss. Now, on the Royal Killbot. Now, one of the things that is very painful is when you are in floating loss, especially when you're using the Royal Kill robot, or you're a trader and trade is going against you and you cannot do anything. Yeah, but on the Royal Kill, the robot has a wonderful feature that can help us to maximize our profits when we are in floating loss. And today I'm going to show you how it is done. I'll give you a few settings that you can use to maximize your profits. So let's go right into the video. But don't forget to subscribe, like and share and comment on this video so that I can do more videos for you. Okay, so let's go. So we know that in trading, sometimes trade go against us. No matter how clever our indicators are, trade will still go against us because demand and supply is not in our hands. About like what can we do if trade goes against us? On the Royal Kill robots, what helps us to make more money, more profits is when we have the margin call option. That is a powerful tool that, in fact, if you know how to use it very wisely, it will give you so much money. And so the margin call, if I talk of margin call, what am I talking about? Margin call is that when the trade is going against you, the robot has the ability and the settings to buy more positions for you on the lower side or the upper side. So assuming I'm on a spot trade and trade is going downwards, the robot will be buying more margin calls for me so that when trade begins to come up, it sells all those margin calls and I make much money. So also it is with on futures trading. So in all these things, we need to understand how these things work. Then it will help us to make so much profit and to be able to enjoy our trade. So even if trade is going against you, you can still make so much profits. And the goal of this strategy is to be in floating loss. And it's so wonderful that you want to try it and see how it works like. And so I'll take you through a few things on the robots. But one of the things I want you to understand about the Royal Kill robots is very simple. Is this: the first four margin calls are sold together. On the Royal Kill robots, the first four margin calls. So assuming you entered into a trade with an initial amount, after that the first four margin calls, after the robot has bought them, is sold together at a go so that it gives you all the profits. Now when we are using the sub-bin real-time settlements, it's an option that helps us to sell our trades from the feed call to whatever call. You know that on the Royal Kill robots, like margin calls, we can buy margin calls from zero, like from 1 to 99. So it means that we have a lot of margin calls we can open up depending on our capitals that we have. So what do we do in this strategy? What we do is that we put little money in our first buying amount, and then we put little money in our first four calls, then we put much of our money in our fifth call, right, or downwards. So in this trade, we're going to deal with only 10 margin calls, and I'm sure you enjoy this one. So I hope you can see my screen. Now let me go into the Royal Kill robots and show you a few things there. Okay, so this is a trade that is going on, right? Okay, so if you come to the Royal Kill robots, you have to set the strategy down. So the strategy is what I want to show you how the strategy is. Then you can apply it. Good. So you go to my what strategy settings. Here, my strategy settings. So you click on this and then you create a strategy. So if you create a strategy, we are going to use that strategy to trade. So we're going to click on create my strategy. So you can see so many strategies here. Now I'll pick the one that we are going to use for this video. I've named it Nikwame Stats Future. So this is it. I use my name to name the strategy. You can also use your name to name the strategy. Now there are a few things here that I want us to pay attention to. So assuming I'm trading with in this strategy, we are going to use 5% of our capital, only 5% of our capital, right? So assuming that I have a trade, I have $100. Our first buying amount will be $5, and then our first for margin calls, we're going to use half of our um what half of our first buying amount. So if if we do the calculation, 5/100, right, multiply by our capital will give us 5, right? So it means that our first buying in amount will be $5. So if our first buying amount is $5 and we are using half of our first buying amount for the first four calls, it means each call, the first call, the second call, the fourth, like the third call and the fourth call will all have what half of our initial. So we have 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, and then 2.5. So that is 2.54 will make what will be 10. So it means that our first buying amount is $5. Then our first margin call will buy what $2.5, then $2.5, 2.5 for the third, then 2.5 for the fourth. I hope you understand. Okay, so that is what we are going to use in the setting. So let's go into our setting and let's see. So in setting up the setting, the first thing that we'll look at is our first buying amount here. The first buying amount, we are going to put 5. If you put 5 and the system rejects it, then you put 10. But when you are doing the trade, actually, you put 5. So we are putting 5 because of our capital. In this video, we are assuming that our capital is $100. So the first buying amount is 5% of our capital, which is $5. So our first buying amount is $5. So sometimes when you're doing the setting, when you put 5, it will tell you that 5 is too small. So you should put a bigger amount. So you put 10, but when you are really inserting the trade, then you put 5. So that is it. And then our risk type will be steady, will be on a steady, so that our profits like will be our risk management will be managed well for us. So that is one of the things that will be on. Now the other thing that I want to talk about in this trade is the margin call. That is where the all the magic happens. So in this video, we'll be doing what we'll be doing our margin calls 10. So the margin calls that we're going to do is 10. We are telling the robot that if trade should go against us, buy as much as you can, only 10 for us. So that like the robot is going to buy 10, but you can open so many depending on your capital and depending on how you understand the whole thing. So I'll take our whole take profits. Our profits we are going to take is 1.5%. What it means is that when the trade moves in our direction that we are thinking, 1.5%, we want you to sell us out of the trade. Okay, so that is it. Then our whole position take profits is 0.1. We'll use that one. And then our buy in call callback is 0.01. and then our sub what position take profit callback is 0.1, right? Beautiful. So these are the settings that we're going to use, and then our strategy period will be on one shot. So we are going to be on one shot to execute this trade. Okay, beautiful. So that is what we are going to do. So let me show you where the magic itself is. The magic itself is in the is in the what, in the margin call configuration. So we'll click here on this arrow, and then it will take us into our margin call, and that is where the magic is. So let's go into our margin call. So we are in the margin call. Now you can see that the margin call has two settings. It has a margin call drop here, and then it has what, a multiply buy in ratio. Okay, so that is I want to explain it. So the margin call drop means that when the you can see the margin call drops are in percentages, right? So it means that when the trade should drop by this percentage, he will buy for you by asking how much should he buy. So in this in our first call, we are saying that you should buy 0.5 times of our initial capital. I hope you understand. I take it again. So we are saying that in the margin configuration, this is where the magic is. So I want to explain it to us so that you understand it. Now, it's saying that the first margin call says that we should buy. This is the first margin call, and it's saying that if the market should drop 0.5%, if in case market should go against us and drop 0.5%, I want you to buy 0.5 times. So it means that, remember that our initial capital was what, our first buying in amount was $5. So it means that when it's buying 0.5 of this one, 0.5 is like half. So half of what, of 5, and that will give us what, 2.5, will give us 2.5, right? So it means that our first margin call, we are going to use 2.5 to enter into that position, right? It is because in this strategy, I told you earlier on that the first four margin calls on the Royal robots are normally sold together. So the first four margin calls are normally sold together. So if it buys all those ones, it's going to take a long time before, like, or depending on the trade, before it will sell all the four in addition to your initial entry, and then it will give you the profits. But from the fifth call, right, from the fifth call onwards, if we are using what, the sub bin real time settlements, I hope you know that setting by now. So if we are using that sub bin real settlements, real time settlements, real time, I can't write all, but real time settlements, yes, it means that we are going to, it's going to allow us to sell each of our our margin call drops from the fifth upwards. So from fifth, sixth, and seventh, eighth, and ninth margin call up to 10 margin call, it can sell them individually and give us the profits that we are looking for. Good. So this is what we are going to do. We are going to set our first four margin calls on what's like the drops on the margin call will be 0.5, as you can see here. So that is the first four margin calls. We are going to use 0.5, 0.5 for all of them. And then how many times the robot should buy, we are going to use 0.5 for all of them. So that is what the robot is going to use to buy for us. And then what we're going to do again is that we, from the fifth call, that is where the magic of this strategy is. from the feed call. Sometimes when you're in trade, you can realize that it has bought all the four margin calls, but it's not able to sell you off. And then it is playing around the fifth call, sixth call, seventh, fifth call, sixth call, seventh. So if that is happening to your trade, or you are in floating loss and the trade is not selling you out easily, but it is playing around the fifth call, around the sixth call, it will go and come back around that time, around that place, and it can't sell you off. What you can do is that you just have to go into the trade and change the settings again. In fact, when you are in the trade, there are some settings that you can still change, like your margin calls you can change, like your whole take profit ratio you can also change that one. But what you cannot change is your leverage. Once you enter into the trade, the leverage sometimes is very difficult to change. And then your first buying amount you cannot change, right? But what you can change on the trade is your what is your margin call. So even if the trade, if you enter a trade and you realize the trade is going against you, all that you can do is to is to change your margin call. So sometimes you can manipulate like you can manipulate the robots in order that you can what get results. And so that is one of the beautiful things about this robot that I want us to take advantage of. Okay, so our first four calls have been we've used 0.5, 0.5, 0.5 as drop, as margin call drop, and the multiply buying ratio we have used 0.5. Now let's move to the feed call to the 10th call. That is what the magic of this whole trade is about. So yes, you can see that on the feed call we have 1%. We are saying that from the fourth call to the fifth call, if the market should go against us 1%, we want the robot to buy. So the robot to buy. On the sixth call, we are going to use 2% for. So from the sixth call to the 10th call, what we are using 2% for each of the of our margin call drop. Okay, so now you have that one. Now let's look at the multiple buying on the other side. So we can see that the feed call, we're having the feed call has 4. It means that our first buying amount was 5, so multiply by 4. It means that our feed call, we are going into the market with $20. So this thing you have to do it very well so that you can have so much capital to also take care of your trade. That is one of the things that you have to pay attention to. If it's futures trading, I will advise that when you are trading with $100, have another $100 as a backup. If it's $50 you are trading with, try and make sure that you have $50 as a support, so that in case market should go against you, you will not be liquidated. But this one, when you're using it in futures trading, it's cool. You don't have to worry about liquidation. So our fifth call, we are using 1. Our set to our 10th call, we are using 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Then on the multiple buy in, our fifth call we are using 4. Then our sixth call we are using 4. Our seventh call we are using 4. Eighth call we are using 4. And then on the ninth call we can do 2, and then on the 10th call we can do 2. So this settings depends on your capital. If you have a large capital, then you can, or if you have a lot of money, you can add up to it. Sometimes I use 5 for all of them, depending on what I'm looking for and how I see the market and how I realize where the market is playing around. So if the market is playing around my fifth call, my sixth call, then I put most of my money there. Sometimes I can even do 10. It depends on your risk factor. So normally, if you fear to take risk, unfortunately, you cannot be in this business, because business is about risk. You take risk and you make profit, right? So that is how this whole thing is about. So these are the settings that we're going to use in our margin call. So I hope you understand. So if I should go over it again, our our first call to our fourth call, we are going to use 0.5 for our margin call drop. And then our multiple buying ratio, we are going to use 0.5. And then from there, our fifth call, we are going to use 1 as our call drop. And then we are going to use 4 times of our money, of our first buying amount. So in the sixth call, we are going to use 2% drop, and we're going to use 4 times. On the seventh call, we are going to use 2% and 4 times. Eighth call, 2% 4 times. Ninth call, 2% 2 times. And then on the 10th call, we have 2% drop. Then we have 2 times of our buy in. So that is how beautiful we are going to use our margin call. So I'm done with the margin call settings. Now let's look at the distributed what? Distributed and take profit allocation. So I know somebody might be asking, where is that setting? That is a setting. What it means is that when we buy from the feed call, right, how much percentage should it go before the robot sells it for us? And so that one is it. Let me take it again. So the distributed and take profits allocation, it means that from the feed call onwards, how much percentage should it rise before it sells it for us? And so that is basically what it is. So you can see that over here, when we enter into that setting, you see that it's giving us only from the feed call. So like I said earlier on, the first 4 margin calls are sold together. So the feed call onwards, uh, up to how many margin calls you open, you can see. And the setting we're going to use here is 1.3%. 1.3% means that when it buys the feed call, if it goes in our direction like 1.3, it should sell it for us. So that is what we are going to use. So that is a setting that we'll use. And then we are on one shot. So that is what we'll be using. So in this strategy, when you are trading, when you are picking up your strategy, you can use it. You can name it after your own name, or you can use my name. You can use, any name that you want to use in the setting of this strategy, and you can make so much money on the robots, and you enjoy your trade. So you can see this trade is giving me already, I mean 3% good. I think one of the things I didn't talk about was leverage. Yes, let me talk about leverage on that trade. Leverage, depending on which side of the market you are. So I normally use a strategy when I'm on spot trading, on futures trading, but you can also use it on spot trading. It will still work, and it will still give you a lot of profit. So on futures trading, I use a leverage of either 5 or 10, depending on how I see the market. So if I see the market uh, very active and potent, then I use a leverage of 10. So in my settings, I didn't talk about leverage, but when you are setting up your trade, it will ask you how much leverage that you want to use, and then you can use it. So let me open a real trade, and then I show you what I'm talking about. So this is a trade. So if you are in a trade and you realize this is happening to you, the trade is not selling you out, but it's playing around your feed call, and your what, and your sit call around that place, then you can enter the trade. You don't have to stop the trade before you go into the trade setting. Allow the trade to trade. So the trade is still trading, but you can still enter your trade setting. So now I've entered the trade setting of the trade. Now this is the coin I'm trading. I'm trading my first buying amount of this trade. Remember that I'm on short. I'm doing shorts for this coin, and the first buying amount is 0.6 NMR. That is equivalent to $5 of my money. Good. So this trade, you can see that I'm doing a leverage of only times five. It means that my $5 has been multiplied by five. So meaning that I entered the market with $25. That is the beauty of what? Of leverage. So but high leverage also comes with high risk. Don't forget this strategy we are using. If your leverage is high, unless you are very sure of the market, or you are sure the market will go in your favor. But if you are not sure, use a small leverage so that you can what? Manage your risk very very well. So in this trade, I'm doing only what? I'm doing leverage of times five, and I changed the whole position take profit to five. But this thing, me, I won't wait for the five to even reach, because it's going to take me a long time in the market. What I do is that most of the times when it's 2%, I sell myself out of the trade. So it depends on how much time you have, but normally you go with a small what ratio of profit, so that you can get out of the market very quick. So that is how to maximize your profits when you are in floating loss. So you can make so much money. So please, you can use this setting. You can also DM me or contact me for any help on this one. My name is Dr. Latte, and have a wonderful day and enjoy yourself. Bye bye.